At the post-fight press conference last Saturday, Frank Warren said that the Deontay Wilder-Tyson Fury fight would be officially announced on Monday. Correct me if I'm wrong, but here we are on Friday and there's been no official announcement. What's going on there? He said that we would get information, and I'm guessing the information is date and venue. But again, not a peep from Frank Warren or anybody else as far as I'm aware. Correct me if I'm wrong if they have officially announced it, but as far as I'm aware, they haven't. But yet Frank Warren said that there would be an announcement. That's what he said at the post-fight press conference. Where is the announcement? Maybe I'm just being impatient. Maybe it's forthcoming. But one person who is skeptical about whether this fight will actually go ahead, surprise, surprise, you guessed it, fast car, Eddie Hearn, the man who a lot of people like to call the used car salesman. He says he doubts, still has doubts over whether the fight's going to happen. He says the fight might get signed, but whether you'll see the two guys step in the ring is another matter altogether. And that is the case with any fight, really. You never know if it's going to happen until the two guys get in the ring. But some fighters have a track record of signing for fights and not getting in the ring. David Haye being one of them, right? He signed for many fights in his career, which didn't go ahead. Vladimir Klitschko even. He signed for a few fights in his career which didn't go ahead, notably against Derek Chisora. And even Tyson Fury. He was supposed to have those various different rematch dates with Klitschko, and those fights didn't go ahead. He was also supposed to fight Ustinov as a late replacement for Derek Chisora. That fight didn't go ahead. His uncle, Huey, RIP, did die, or he was taken ill. He was either taken ill or died in the days leading up to what would be the Chisora or Ustinov fight. And for that reason, Tyson Fury pulled out. But prior to that, Tyson Fury said he would never pull out in any situation in the lead up to a fight. As long as he's healthy, he's not going to pull out. So he did kind of contradict himself. Even though he lost a loved one, many fighters have fought in the lead up to, many fighters have fought when they've lost a loved one in the lead up to the fight. Most famously, Buster Douglas lost his mum. He was very close to his mum. He lost his mum 2 weeks before the Tyson fight. I remember Michael Katsidis lost his brother in the lead up to his fight against Marquez, I think it was. Now, these are much bigger fights, to be fair. So because of the magnitude of those fights, you can understand why the fighter is far less likely to pull out. More money on the line, whereas Tyson Fury was only fighting Ustinov or whoever. So, he might have felt like, you know what, I don't feel good because my uncle's died, so I'm going to call it a day. But anyway, Tyson Fury does have a record of pulling out of fights. Billy Joe Saunders, another one. He's got a record of pulling out of fights. Because of this and other reasons, I think that's why Eddie Hearn and many other people are skeptical about whether Tyson Fury will actually turn up in the ring in November. I've heard, different dates, different months people are talking about. Some are saying the fight will happen in November. Some people are saying December, but nothing has been officially announced yet. No official date has been given. No official location has been given. Some people are saying Las Vegas. Other people are saying New York. So we wait with bated breath to hear from Frank Warren. Will this fight be formally and officially announced? We'll see. I hope so. I personally hope. Actually, let me rewind a little bit. I'm slightly conflicted here. I want Tyson Fury to be at his best against Deontay Wilder. And for that to happen, I feel like he needs another fight in the interim. And I would ideally like this fight to get pushed back to the new year. Let's say maybe February, March 2019. If Fury is insistent on fighting Wilder sooner rather than later, I'd rather see him do it then because it will give him more time to prepare, more time to rehabilitate his body, maybe a fight in between to get even sharper against an opponent who is taller, Pianetta was tall, but somebody who's orthodox and tall. I'd rather see Tyson Fury do that and just delay the fight a little bit. 3 months time in November, to me, that's too soon. Ideally, I'd like a bit more time for Tyson Fury to prepare, but that conflicts with my other wish, which is to see the winner of Wilder versus Fury take on Joshua in April. Obviously, if they push back Fury Wilder until early 2019, let's say February, March, then he's not going to be able to fight Joshua in April. There won't be enough time between the fights. So I'm a little conflicted there, but regardless of all that, let's see if this fight actually gets announced. Let's see if it's going to get announced this year and whether or not both fighters turn up to the party on fight night. Deontay Wilder, to his credit, from memory, hasn't pulled out of many fights in his career. In fact, off the top of my head, I can't think of a fight that he's pulled out of. He might have done, but I just can't think of one off the top of my head. He certainly doesn't have a reputation for pulling out of fights, Wilder. When he signs, he's turning up to fight. The times when his fights have been cancelled or postponed are usually due to the opponent, like with Povetkin failing the PED test, like with Ortiz failing the PED test first time. Wilder was also supposed to fight another guy who was a Ukrainian or Russian, I forget the guy's name, but he also pulled out because he was supposed to fight that guy instead of fighting Spilker, I think. Was it the Spilker fight or maybe one of the other fights where he was supposed to fight this other guy, this Eastern European guy who's 6'5", who Povetkin knocked out in a couple rounds. He was supposed to fight him. But yeah, that didn't happen because the other guy got injured or whatever the case may be. So Wilder's got a good track record with regards to that. But with Fury, his track record is there of pulling out of fights, and also the kind of condition he's in. His team and himself have admitted that ideally he'd like more fights before going in against Deontay Wilder. I'd certainly like him to have more fights. His trainer, Ben Davison, told Tyson Fury in no uncertain terms, don't take the Wilder fight next. I want you to have more fights before you take on Deontay Wilder. Eddie Hearn is insistent that this might all be a big ploy by Shelley Finkel and by Frank Warren. In what sense? Well, in a sense that they've managed to build up their profiles so that Deontay Wilder, even without fighting Fury, can go into a Joshua fight and demand more money. Because let's say he takes on Dominic Breazeale and it's on pay-per-view and it does good numbers, or relatively good numbers, he can then go back to Team Joshua and say, okay, increase that 15 million. Make it 20, make it 25. They can do that even off the back of a Breazeale fight if the Breazeale fight does good numbers. And that may be thanks to hyping a fight between Wilder and Fury, which his promoter, Frank Warren, Fury's promoter, and Wilder's people may have had no intention of actually making, for all we know. You know, again, I'm not saying I believe this, but necessarily, I'm not saying it's a fact. Let's just put it that way, because I don't know for a fact. But it's a possibility, I guess. That's certainly what Eddie Hearn seems to be suggesting, that it may be a big publicity stunt, a collusion, a collaborative effort between Frank Warren and Shelley Finkel to build up the profiles of both Fury and Wilder. You know? Let me know what you think in the comment section below, people. It's happening. I'm out.